All right, let's talk about the Alabama Crimson Tide. This is a team that, after an ugly start to the season, has worked themselves into a situation and not just clinched the SEC West, got an opportunity to do that this weekend against Kentucky. They've also worked themselves into college football playoff contention. And a big reason why they're in this position after a rough start to the season is the way they have come out in the second half of games and made powerful statements. But it's not just how they handle the second half, it's how they've structured their entire program to handle those situations. It's a credit to Saban. It's a credit to every member of the coaching staff. But before we get into the details of that, let's go into the article real quick from Bama Central highlighting the Alabama Crimson Tide second half performance over the past few weeks. Again, from the report, Alabama has won 6 straight conference games, including 3 ranked opponents, but even still, Crimson Tide fans haven't been treated to clean blowout victories. Alabama trailed in 4 of the 6. Things haven't been easy, but there have been steady improvement throughout. And in the second half against LSU on last Saturday night, everything came together for the Crimson Tide. The second half has become the turning point in just about every contest during this impressive stretch. In the 122nd half minutes against Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Tennessee, and LSU, Alabama had an 82-13 advantage. Now, when everyone talks about second half performances, you always hear, well, they're good at making second half adjustments. Look, I played college football, small time college football, D1 AA, FCS. I'm assuming it's relatively similar in other programs as well. Most second half adjustments, there really aren't anything. Most halftime adjustments, it's really minor on the fringes. It's a lot of, hey, this play isn't working too good. We're not going to call that. We're going to call this other play instead, right? It's at that level. When you see second half performance like this, I think it's an indication of culture. I think it's an indication of not making adjustments in that 20-minute period between halves, but all the adjustments and strategy and planning made in the days, weeks, months, years before that in developing a program and bringing these young men into a situation to handle adversity and to overcome it through the program and the strength of the culture. And I think what we're seeing in the second half of these games from Alabama, and Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this as well, is one of the reasons behind Alabama has been so culture focused. A lot of people talk about the transfer portal these days. Alabama ranked 12th out of the 14 SEC teams for the most transfer portal activity going into 2023. Alabama certainly could have done a lot better than that in the rankings if they wanted to. Instead, they were focused on developing the guys mainly already in the building, and we're seeing the fruits of that culture with their performance in the second half. Obviously, big game coming up against Kentucky. Alabama fans, give us your prediction. Big chance on the road, right? Could be a potential trap game, maybe. Kentucky's been a little feisty at times. Give us your prediction, Crimson Tide versus Kentucky, in the comment section below. But Miles, what do you think of how Alabama has handled the second half of these games and the culture that Saban has developed, especially when you look at the fact they really don't focus that much on the transfer portal?
Yeah, Nick, I think it's quite impressive. And it's like you said, 12th, and that's 12th in the SEC. That's not 12th in college football. That's 12th in the SEC. They're probably a little bit lower down that list if you talk about all college football teams. This is a team that is homegrown. You love to hear those kind of words. Recruit your own talent, get the talent, nurture it, build it, like you said, alluded to. And that is what Alabama has been doing. And they've been building through the season. How many times did we hear about at the beginning of the season? Well, offensive line's playing a little bit shaky. Defense maybe isn't closing out, quite as much at the beginning as you'd want them to. Things of this and that nature. And now, as the season has progressed, as the season has gone on, you don't hear those things as much anymore. Now you're hearing, well, Alabama played a complete game. Alabama only let LSU score 7 points in the second half of the game. Absolutely shut down Jaden Daniels and co., who's absolutely phenomenal. Daniels had a heck of a game in the first half. They shut him down, closing out any possibility of them winning that game in the second half by only allowing 7 points. I think this is an Alabama team where you talk about this, and this is mainly in the NFL kind of. Teams get hot at the right times. Teams build momentum. They get healthy at the right times. This is an Alabama team that's getting hot at the right time. They're getting strong at the right time. They're playing together, playing cohesively at the wrong time. And I think that is by design, as you alluded to. That is their plan. They want to build this team from the ground up. They wanted to build this team, nurture it, and get it to the point where they would be. They didn't want to go out in another NFL reference and hit free agency and buy all of the best players they could and see if they could work together. They wanted to get the guys that they wanted and get them into the positions and spots to start that they wanted. This is a team by Saban's design, and this is what you get. A team coming into the last 3 games of the season, hard-charging SEC championship game, most likely college football playoff bound. And, yeah, people doubted them, but I don't think we ever did, Nick. I think we saw this and we knew Alabama, they know what they're doing, and there's a grand design for this team. Whether it was the shaky quarterback play at the beginning, shaky offensive line play, this is a team that is firmed up around the edges, and I think they're really, really great right now.
And again, it goes back to how you structure the program, right? If you're an Ole Miss or a Texas A&M or an LSU does this a lot as well, and you rely so heavy on the transfer portal, you bring in all these guys, and we're not talking about one or two guys. We're talking about making up a good chunk of your team. The reality is, when tough times happen, all these transfer guys from all these different programs, right? If you're transferring guys in from other programs, they're bringing the cultures from the other programs. So when you go through a tough time early in the season, if you're Alabama, if you were a transfer loaded team, you would have had Oklahoma State program attitudes. You would have had Vanderbilt program attitudes. You would have had Wisconsin program attitudes. You would have had USC program attitudes all together instead of having the Alabama culture. And then you wouldn't have been able to respond the way the Crimson Tide had. We kind of forget about it in today's college football because it becomes so much NFL based, like you alluded to, try and collect as much talent as possible. But the reality is the college game, it still comes down to this. Can you develop these young guys and build a program stacked with depth and talent across the board? That is what Nick Saban is known for. Everyone talks about the fact he's one of the best defensive coaches of all time. He certainly is. He's a great mentor. He's a phenomenal recruiter. But the real credit and the real secret to his success at Alabama is his ability to develop players and grow the program and get these kids to buy in. This is a time of the year. I talk about it a lot on the show. Back when I played college, it was very similar. You get into October, you get November, everyone's worn out. Class stinks. You're hurt. Everyone's beat up. You're looking forward to the holidays to take a break from practice, from games, from lifting weights, right? You've been doing stuff literally for months nonstop. You're just worn down. Can you stay motivated? And one way to stay motivated is the culture and the environment around you when you're surrounded by guys that you've gone through freshman year with, that were recruited with you, you've gone through sophomore year with, you've gone through the rough off seasons together. You found a way to band together and build the program. That's what Nick Saban has done. That's what Alabama football has done. And that's why they're making big moves in the second half. This is a team that knows how to handle adversity because just to the fact they've built a program with everyone coming together and not focusing on transfers, I'm going to use an important word here. They are the most mature program in college football when you look at the players on the field, regardless of age. I think that is their big advantage, and I think it will continue to help them the rest of the season.